Hello everyone, thank you for watching our presentation. We appreciate the opportunity to share our research with you in this virtual format. The topic of our project is emotional presence in EFL students' virtual study abroad experiences under the pandemic. First of all, a brief introduction of the presenters. I am Yan Dong. I'm now teaching at Tsinghua University. When the study was conducted, I was a lecturer teaching at UBC. I worked together with my colleague Aika Ishige on this research project. Aika is now teaching at Rismaken Asia Pacific University. When the study was conducted, she was an MA student at LLED, UBC, and served as the research assistant in this project. We would like to take this opportunity to express our appreciation towards the Department of Language and Literacy Education, UBC, for their funding of this research project. We are also thankful for the students who participated in this study and the students who circulated our project information to potential participants. And here is also a special thank to Tsinghua University and Rismaken Asia Pacific University for supporting our presentation at this conference. Our presentation consists of these four sections. I will begin with an introduction of the background and then explain the research methods. And then my colleague Aika will continue to provide the findings and then discuss the implications and summarize the talk. So first of all, let me briefly explain the background of the study. The global pandemic has brought significant challenges to higher education since the outbreak of COVID-19 in 2020. To ensure a continued access to educational programs and resources, online education has become the best and in some circumstances, the only solution to cope with these challenges, especially when many campuses and international borders were closed in 2020. Although online learning is not something new, it is worth noting that the courses that were temporarily shifted online in response to the COVID-19 crisis were situated within the emergency remote teaching, or we call the ERT context. It is a situation when access to instruction is provided in a manner that is quick to set up and is reliably available during an emergency or crisis. In fact, courses delivered in an ERT context are different from the ones that are initially planned and designed to be taught online. When the term ERT is used, it illustrates two features that online teaching or distance education does not have. First of all, it is forced. ERT is a forced transition to online teaching or learning due to the crisis that was initially planned to be offered in other formats, such as face-to-face, blended, or in a hybrid form. Secondly, it is an obligation. While distance education has always been an alternative and flexible option for learners, emergency remote teaching is an obligation. In other words, teachers and students have no other choices. Since the outbreak of COVID-19, there has been a growing body of literature that explores students' ERT experiences in many parts of the world, such as Jordan, the US, Serbia, South Africa, Slovakia, the UK, and so on. However, most of the studies focused on students' teaching and learning experiences in the ERT context. Little attention has been paid to students' emotional experiences. Therefore, the purpose of this study is to investigate the roles of emotional presence in EFL students' ERT learning and the influential factors. Emotion is a complex phenomenon. It cannot be considered separate from the learning environment and has a large impact on students' cognition, behavior, motivation, and academic success. Emotional presence is understood as the outward expression of emotion, affect, and feeling by individuals and among individuals in a community of inquiry as they relate to and interact with the learning technology, course content, students, and the instructor. Similar as emotion, emotional presence is a complex construct that involves many aspects of students' learning experiences. When it comes to online learning, studies on emotional presence found that Positive and negative emotions can coexist in online learning. Researchers advocate not only the importance of identifying students' emotional responses, but also to pay attention to and respond to students' emotional needs. In the community of inquiry framework, emotional expression is viewed as an affective component that is placed under social presence. Considering the importance of emotion and its close connection to other presences in the community of inquiry model, some researchers tend to view emotional presence as a separate presence. For example, in a recent study, Majeski et al. Proposed an integrated model of COI and emotional presence. In this integrated model, emotional presence is closely associated with emotional intelligence and is understood as including these four aspects: emotional perception, understanding, facilitation, and management. Emotional perception refers to the ability to recognize one's own and others' feelings. Emotional understanding refers to the ability to grasp why we feel the way we do and how our different feelings relate to each other. Emotional facilitation means the ability to use emotion to fulfill non-emotional goals by enhancing thinking. And emotional management is the ability to regulate emotions experienced within oneself and expressed in relationships with others. The study was designed based on this model. I've just introduced the background of the study, and now let me explain the participants and the research design. The study involved 12 graduate students who virtually pursued their graduate programs at a Canadian university starting from the fall term in 2020. Most of them were in the Master of Education program. There were also 2 MA students and 1 PhD student. This table shows the demographic information of the participants. All of them were EFL speakers. Most of them were females and were from East Asia. More than 60% of the participants had never taken any online course before. They enrolled in at least one course in the fall term of 2020 when the study was conducted. We used online one-on-one semi-structured interviews to collect data. The interviews took place after the students completed their first semester's ERT study in their graduate program. The interview data were analyzed based on the integrated model. Now my colleague Aika will discuss the findings and implications.
Thank you, Anna. Hello, everyone. My name is Aika, and I will present finding and discussion, then summary and implications. Major findings will be presented in 2 sections. First, emotional perception and emotional understanding. Second, emotional facilitation and emotional regulation. According to Majeski et al., emotional presence is the ability to recognize one's own feeling and others' feelings. Emotional understanding is ability to guess why we feel the way we do and how our different feelings relate to each other. These elements of emotional intelligence help learner experience a sense of safety and comfort in online classroom and set the foundation for learners' success. Since these 2 elements are often interrelated and are difficult to differentiate in teaching presence, we will merge these elements and present in our findings. Instructors' emotional perception and emotional understanding promoted open, frequent communication with participants. For example, participant 2, who was taking courses from China and had 15-hour time difference from the school location, talked about how she felt the teacher's presence during the semester. She felt the instructor was there to help her because she was able to reach out anytime, despite the time difference and the physical distance. Another example is participant 8, who was taking a course from Nigeria. In the beginning, he was unfamiliar with Canvas, an online learning management system. He described how his instructor made him feel safe when he asked her questions. His instructor was approachable and answered all the questions in a warm and kind manner, and he was able to ask any question without thinking twice. Instructors' open, inclusive approach fostered emotional presence within the participants. In synchronous courses, Participant 8 talked about how his instructor facilitated the conversation with her student as not stratified and open, which made him feel that the class was like a family. In Participant 7's class, the instructor conducted a house tour during the class and openly presented their private space. Participant 7 said because of this, she was able to relate and connect with instructor more. Participant 10 talked about how her instructor actively included her and other international students in the classroom, especially by calling them and asking questions related to their local context. Although she sometimes felt embarrassed, she appreciated the instructor's efforts to include her in the classroom discussion. In asynchronous courses, instructors' frequent and personalized communication with their students foster emotional presence within the participants. Participant 1 discussed how one of her instructors wrote direct emails to some students, especially before the assignment submissions. She thought that the instructor did so to those who were less active, and regarded this type of personalized communication as instructors' understanding of these students' feeling, and considered it as an effective way to approach them. In Participant 2's case, she felt her instructor's support from the instructor's comments on students' discussion posts. While some instructor responded to some posts, her instructor responded to all the students, which made her feel amazed and supported. Lack of emotional perception and emotional understanding by the instructor negatively affected the participants' learning experience. Untimely and/or lack of communication with students was viewed as instructors' lack of emotional perception. For example, when we ask the question, what are the factors that have influenced your feeling about your instructor's presence during the online teaching? Participant 3 immediately answered email communication, especially in a timely manner. His frustration can be seen in his comment follows. How can you do so? Cannot respond to my email. Similarly, participant 4 was frustrated when she didn't receive comments from her instructor on her discussion post. While participant 2 in the previous slide discussed how she felt amazed by her instructor commenting on every single post, participant 4 discussed how she felt unsupported and discouraged from the instructor when she didn't receive any comment. She particularly discussed how her challenge as an international student who had to take extra time and effort to read and write. No comments made her feel her posts were not good enough and made her nervous about her performance. Instructors' perceived lack of emotional perception and understanding hindered participants' communication with them. Participant 7 explained why she never asked questions to one of her instructors. He was distant, and she felt he thought of her and other students as just young kids new to education. Similarly, in Participant 5's case, her instructor's lack of emotional perception hindered the communication with her. She explained how she was afraid of asking questions to the instructor because her question might be viewed as too simple. Emotional facilitation is the ability to use emotion to fulfill non-emotional goals by enhancing thinking. Emotional regulation is the ability to regulate emotions experienced within oneself and expressed in relationship with others. Emotional facilitation and emotional regulation could be closely related to and intersect with each other. In teaching presence, Emotional facilitation and regulation could be reflected in instructional design, facilitation of learning, and direct teaching content. Adjusting course designs to suit the ERT context was viewed as an effective emotional facilitation. As participant 13's comment represents, many participants noted that successful course designs help them keep motivated to thrive in the course. Participant 3 felt the presence of the instructor from the way his instructors designed the courses. In particular, he discussed the importance of making the course interactive. While instructor A's design made him feel like A was talking to him, instructor B's course design made him feel like B is merely telling him what to do and do nots. He felt that the instructor B's failure is due to her lack of emotional perception of her student, as he said, instructor B doesn't know what our real feelings are because of lack of communication. What could make a course design more effective for emotional facilitation then? Participant 3's points on course designs being interactive was elaborated on participant 4's comments. According to participant 4, to make online, especially asynchronous courses more motivating for students, it is important to have various activities. She described how one of her courses had not only required readings, but also tables, pictures, videos in each module, which made that course easy to understand and encouraging. She discussed the importance of a course visually designed and including various activities because students in ERT contexts especially are lonely and isolated, and it's difficult to keep them motivated. Findings also present that the modification of and additional resources to course contents during the semester could facilitate students' emotional presence effectively. Participant 3 described how his instructor was caring by adjusting the amount of assignments when the students are exhausted. Similarly, several participants discussed their instructor's extension of deadlines for final papers. These adjustments were perceived by the participants as a sign of instructors' emotional perception of students and emotional facilitation of their learning. Participant 2 talked about additional resources that her instructors shared to help students feel motivated and how she used that strategy. By watching YouTube videos on organization working in her field, participant 2 imagined how her future work could impact the students and manage her morale. Summary. First, emotional intelligence in teaching presence did impact students' successful learning in ERT context. Instructors' emotional perception, emotional understanding, emotional facilitation, and emotional regulation promoted students' positive emotional presence, and the lack of them diminished the students' overall course satisfaction. Second, whether it was a synchronous or asynchronous course, open, detailed, and frequent communication between instructor and students largely shape emotional perception and emotional understanding. Third, participants were sensitive in feeling instructors' emotional perception from the course design, communication, and adjustments, all of which affected their emotional facilitation and emotional regulation. Finally, implication. In ongoing post-pandemic era, successful online learning could be greatly influenced by whether instructors have successful emotional perception of their students and how well or how explicitly the instructor reflects their emotional presence in their teaching. So this is the end of our presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to contact us.